Hello, happy Halloween. From the United States, it's October 31st at the SUMO community meeting. In the United States, we have a holiday that is surrounded by candy and dressing up as trick-or-treaters. So the whole culture around trick-or-treat is when you dress up as a different costume, it's supposed to be the souls of old ghouls. We trick you or we treat you. And that's why the tradition throughout the ages have been evolved into people buying copious amounts of candy and strangers knocking on your door for about a couple of hours after in the evening. Strangers being mostly children under the age of 18, but some of us, like me, uh, yes, Chris, tend to not follow
I
that rule.
I tried to give out candy last year and nobody came.
Aw,
I had the same problem. So where do you live, Chris? Do you live in an apartment or a condo complex like I do? I live in a
A
10-unit condo
suburb
complex.
houses.
Oh, you live
I
in a
think that
house? House?
yeah.
Wait, sorry, if you maybe so bold as to ask which Toronto neighborhood or Metro Toronto or whatever they call it.
Markham.
There's kids there in Markham.
I know.
What? Yeah, that's the same thing with us. We have lots of kids in our neighborhood. We have a school that has 600 kids, but we only got 20 people. And we're in a condo, but it's not like a high rise. It's a townhouse condo. We have a door facing the street. Like we have, so it's like not, and we turned our lights on. We didn't have a pumpkin, but we turned our lights on. Nobody came, like a dozen or 2 dozen, which one year we got 100. I don't know how that happened. So every year we expect 100, but now we get 2 dozen. It's ridiculous. Anyhow, Canadians have more kids.
that is a lot of candy. And
Yeah.
keep having those kids. They're cute. But population control and all that. I'm just gonna I'm gonna recline my statement. Maybe we can edit that later. Just kidding. That's awesome. I hope that you guys do get kids at your door this year in a safe, purposeful way for handing out candy. Um, so the yeah, so that's the holiday. I'm eating a lot of candy today. But yeah, so thanks for joining us. There's a participation list. If you're watching this later, please feel free to go ahead and add your name to the wiki document. There's a couple round table items. Please add your agenda items. I'm going to do a quick refresh. I don't see anything at the moment. So I'm going to add contributors of the week. So we have a couple new contributors, so I'm going to make them the contributors of the week. Liney N. Napotiliano, Apollo 007, Chris Stocky, and Spencer Moore. Even if you were in a different forum asking for help, welcome to the community. It's very exciting to have you. Yes, Chris.
Sorry to interrupt again. Christaki sounds Greek. It's actually Chris
Ah,
in Greek. So maybe that
What,
person
Chris, you're
is
Greek?
Greek. Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not really Filipino. I just play Canadian to Filipino heritage on TV. I mean, in real life. I mean, yeah. Just kidding.
that's awesome. Speaking of in real life, I'm going to move on to product updates. Roland, do you mind sharing some of the updates from the first week of Firefox 63?
Yeah, we've been focusing on desktop reporting and not really on our other 7 Firefox products. Rachel has read all the tweets or sampled all the tweets, so 500, 1,000, whatever the number is. I read about 600 support questions and I've been tagging them, desktop Firefox support questions, and I've been tagging them in SUMO forums as, what is it, Roland FF63 experiment. Until we get some automation, I'm going to continue doing this. We don't have a large enough beta population, so we always miss stuff. So in beta testing, which is understandable. So we have a shrink to fit printing bug. We have a Facebook plugin, some old photo plugin crash on OS X. Those are kind of the unexpected things. Everything else was sort of expected. We have content blocking confusion. It's not clear to users when our new content blocking features are on or off, and when and how they affect the content of our their web pages. And as always, we have the unexpected fun of about config prefs and user chrome.css. Unexpected as in there doesn't seem to be any real documentation from us or anybody else on about config prefs and user chrome.css. And users sometimes need the prefs, and developers definitely need prefs. Having flags, which is what about config things are in software to turn features on and off experimentally and for testing purposes, is the best practice in software engineering. But it really is confusing for users. But sometimes they have to do it, like the dark mode pref for Windows dark mode. And then user chrome.css, I don't know what to say except that every pixel is sacred. And users with smaller screens don't like anything that increases the pixel size. So for this release, the user chrome.css quote-unquote hack was to reduce the pixel spacing between bookmarks, which was increased in 63 compared to 62. So I would love suggestions on how to best handle user chrome.css and how to best handle about config prefs for normal users, not the Chris Iliases of the world, not the Gesture 2000s, not the person who keeps emailing me. I'm not just kidding. Not our awesome core volunteers. They can use about config prefs. They can use user chrome.css. No problem, and they can recover, no problem. But our normal user who can barely edit a CSS file and who would get confused by Notepad turning it into css.txt, they're not going to be able to recover. So I don't know. I don't think we can solve this problem as a support team, but I think we can give feedback that this is a hard problem. Some of the ideas that I had in the past, which are probably bad ideas, was like not give people access to user chrome.css and not give people access to about config prefs and release. Probably a bad idea. But maybe there's something to it. Maybe we give it to developers, but somehow force users to not use it or minimize usage of it, and or have it in a better packaged way. Like thinking out loud, probably wrong. An add-on, like if you force people to make small add-ons like this, add-ons are first-class citizens, can be turned off, can be monitored, can be removed, and you understand what they are and where they are. Whereas changes to arbitrary text files and prefs, no one can keep track of. So anyways, soapbox for today, no solutions. But yeah, overall, I think Firefox 63 desktop is in good shape from what I can tell from Twitter. Rachel's reading of Twitter and my reading of the SUMO support forums. But if you know of anything, please let me know. Or put it in the awfully comprehensive, the super duper comprehensive SUMO support contributor forum thread started by Philip. As always. All right, I gotta go. But thank you. Happy Halloween. And I see someone else has a costume. Take care, everybody. Until next week.
Thanks, Roland.
Bye, Roland.
Bye.
Awesome. Well, I was going to add to this section the top viewed questions created since the release. I don't know if there's any interest there. Chris, I can also include the Thunderbird ones and just show a screen share of the top 10 questions that are appearing in the preview tab. Would that be of interest? To see if this correlates to any of the questions we may not be seeing in those top 3 issues. I think it was like dark mode, autoplay, and content blocking.
Are we talking about the first item under support forum?
We are.
Or...
No, we are not. So this is I remember last week I promised to show the top viewed created questions from the week starting on the release date. So now it's been about a week and I have 10 questions here that I can share my screen.
Sure. If
Okay.
it's if the Thunderbird questions are popular enough, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, okay. So let me share this screen. So what's great about analytics? So this is actually the top viewed question. Create and filters in Thunderbird. Privacy, no, security updates. So the latest privacy update will include, I think one of the tweets had said that it was finally pushed to prod. So we have two, no, just one. Security vulnerabilities fixed. It looks like HTTP live stream playback for Firefox for Android. And then a crash. There was a overflow Unicode, web extension bypass domain, web extension scripts, missing warning prompt, CSB bypass security sheet, spoofing protocol registration, favicons, DOS attack. It might be, yeah, there's a lot, but I don't see anything listed for SSL errors that might cause this error. So if you're interested in troubleshooting an SSL website security issue, what's great about these is that you can just ask them to take a screenshot of the security certificate or ask them to go to what's the website, ssltests.com, I believe, and it'll give you the errors for why the SSL error might be coming up. But this user needs to share the URL in order to troubleshoot that one further. I find it's kind of interesting that analytics is picking up some unsolved questions. So here's another top viewed
Yeah.
question for Thunderbird: how to select different address book for added context. It looks like Airmail had a helpful reply, and then Matt came in and solved it. The card book add-on seems to be the replacement for address book. So that's interesting. Do you guys have that in the knowledge base?
I'm not sure.
Okay. That one had 50 views this week. The next one, how do I get rid of ID? Here's another Thunderbird question. It looks like that was solved. You just go in and you mouse over Alt V. Yeah, these are beyond. So I'll skip these in the updates, but I thought you might find these kind of interesting. There's an autoplay, so yeah, that's one of the top issues that
Yeah.
Roland had mentioned. Media autoplay enabled set to false. How do I fix it? I think this one's for desktop. Yeah, that's for desktop Windows 7. And that one looks like 77 views. Wow. 80. Interesting. So analytics says a different number. It shows 49 views, but this one says 77. Huh. Probably unique versus revisit. So it might be that there's 50 people clicking on here and 77 actual clicks. Next one is restoring backups. So backups of IMAP. This person is very happy. Thank you, Xenos. Thank you so much. Okay. Let's see this next one. Also, this one. Block autoplay not working. That is, you might see a number of questions with this answer to go in and change that preference. We also have can't log into our website because it requires a name and password under security options. It may look like my account is half saved. So it looks like that one still needs an answer. Go ahead and check that one out. It's question number. Actually, I can share it in IRC. Anyway, so those are the top 10.
Okay.
I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Most of the ones after that have only been shown 15 or 20 times. Happy to get into more detail there if anyone is interested. This is a preview to see if this is engaging to go through some of the questions that have been top viewed to help you with other questions that might come up. So if not, no worries. Just share this report somewhere else so you can look at it in your own time. Moving on to, I'm going to read the updates for the knowledge base. Since Mihal is away from keyboard, there's a spooky KB greeting for you. Almost 400 KB edits in the last 7 days. Way to go. Woohoo, L10N. Screencast added to Thunderbird signatures article. Oh, Chris, what is that?
Yeah, I created a screencast and embedded it into the signatures article. So when Windows users go to that article, they'll see a screencast, a YouTube embedded video of how to create and add screencasts and create and add signatures in Thunderbird.
That's fantastic. That's actually one of the things that they want to include in next year is to do more of this. So I'm really happy to see you taking the lead on this. It's really exciting to see this here. My question for you would be, would there be a use case? So I'm not sure what Thunderbird's relationship is going to be next year, but for all content in general, so I'm speaking in general for all content in the KB, what is something that would, so it looks like this was very easy for you to do. What were some of the things that you found that could make it easier for maybe other contributors to also add video, or like what are some tips and tricks that you found were really easy or difficult for creating videos?
It does take a while. I remember we added screencast support to SUMO years ago, but it just never took off because you can't really update content in there, and then there's also the localization issue. You can't really localize a screencast, so it never really took off in popularity. But the ability is built in terms of like what other people could do to create screencasts for themselves. The tools are, I think we may have had an article on how to contribute article on creating screencasts. But a lot of the tools are built in now. I know for Mac it's built in, and I do believe for Windows 10 you can record screencasts now. Um, so, uh, like aside from that, script it yourself, and then record the screencast. Um, I'm not sure what else.
Did you enjoy creating the video?
Um, Kind of, sort of. Oh, yeah. One thing I should mention is that it's good to create like a demo desktop or like a separate user account or a separate profile for your demonstration instead of like including stuff like your own personal passwords and signatures and bookmarks. So that's one thing that I've learned from doing screencasts.
Awesome. Did you know that there's a functionality in YouTube that inscribes what's being said and then allows users to actually
Yeah,
go in and edit the CC, the what's it called? The CC, the closed captions?
closed caption. Yeah,
I don't know if that's a
I haven't tried it.
workaround. Closed captions. You just have to set the video open to translation. There's an option where you can go in and anyone can just go in and then start editing the closed captions. Like
Mhm.
you said, the script you were talking about. If you have a script, they can go from there. Um,
Yeah, if you don't script it, then you're going to end up either correcting yourself during the screencast or doing a lot of let's see, like if it's much more you're much more confident when you've got a script in front of you.
awesome. Thank you for the tips. We really appreciate this. If you're curious, the hosting for it, um, I'd be curious to see if the article, uh, the metrics around the article, if they change
Yeah,
from
we
week to
need
week.
metrics around the knowledge base. Before we used to have helpful votes, and we could
Mhm.
check that across like a date stamp and when an edit was made. But we lost that in the move to AWS.
Huh. That's good to know. The helpful votes, those are the ones on the articles that are
Yeah,
listed on the bottom. Okay.
and
Thank
that's
you for
another thing too, is that they're at the bottom. So if a
right.
person doesn't bother to like scroll down and read the article, it just bounces and they're not going to vote at all.
There was a part of the article that includes, was this helpful? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah,
I didn't realize those had gone away.
the the uh, the polls are still there on the pages, but for some reason, uh, when we check the helpfulness votes, there's no votes there or little to none. And we did some backtracking to find out when it happened. It turns out it happened on the same week that we moved to AWS. So right now, that's the best guess as to the cause.
Got it.
And there's a bug open for it somewhere.
Got it. I wonder if that also affected the Me Too votes in the forums.
Ooh, I don't know.
Um, I will do some investigation there because I'm running a culture of experiments to run a survey on users that are unregistered that said I have this problem too to see what kind of notifications that they might want. I'd be really anyway. I'm getting off topic. This is
Mhm.
really cool, Chris. Thank you so much for sharing that. It looks like there's
As
some. Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
a side note to all of that, part of why I added it is I think it's good for contributors to include stuff that they're working on, the projects that they're doing in the meetings. So instead of it just being like the Sumo team updating everybody on what's going on with the Sumo team, everybody in the community can get involved communicating what they're doing, what they're working on.
Absolutely. So I have a quick question for you. Would you be interested in starting a contributor thread that kind of gives some instructions on how to get started and how easy it is to create a screencast with the link to that? I think you
Sure.
mentioned there might be an article that showed users how to create a
Yeah.
screencast. I know there's
Yeah.
screenshot. I personally use Jing. I use also ScreenFlow, but that's a paid software, so that's
Yeah,
yeah.
same. I
Maybe we
use
could.
paid software as well.
Okay, Chris. Well, I'm gonna give you that. I'm gonna plant that idea in your head,
Okay,
and if you
action
wanna,
item.
yeah, if you wanna do that, and we could sticky it. I don't know if you want to put it in the new contributor forum or the top contributor. No, sorry, not the top contributor forum. I'm thinking of the next update, which is relevant to that, but the like the ways to get involved. One of the blockers for some users that get started, they'll go from page to page on the quick start guide, and they don't know what other things that they could be making contributions to. And this is a really cool. I think this is really fun. So that's your.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the lead on that. Does that is that okay?
Yeah,
Awesome.
I just wrote it down.
Cool. Um, uh, anything else on that topic you
No.
want to share? Nope. Okay. Um, welcome to the contributor forums. Abstinent, MSTR93, Labfloit, Marianne Chan, Best, I don't know how to say that. Menji, King Alush, new names in the KB. Way to make contributions. I think we also saw MSTR 93 um in one of those questions that was answered in Spanish. So it looks like they're doing some multiple contributions. Thank you so much for getting involved, folks. That is amazing. Stick around. They have lots of updates and fun times for you. Support forums. Thank you for contributing to Sumo Week. The second and final week to participate is this week, but do not be discouraged. There are still users to help. So if you would like to join, check out how to get started in this link to the splash page and the wiki page that has all the details on how to get started and the different ways to contribute. Maybe something like this could exist in there as well, like Sumo Day, here's a task, how to file a bug, here's some ways to look for top issues. I know that there are many different ways to get involved in Sumo Day. So if you have any questions on that, please feel free to reach out on IRC. There's also a discussion um, that comes from both, I think, some private messages, some diversity and inclusion cases, and some conversations that I also got to participate in with the community research as well as the all hands back in June. Um, there is currently a feature on community profiles that say top 25 contributor or top 10 contributor. Now, currently that I think the feature is still not working or is in the progress of being fixed. So I wrote some thoughts about uh, how to be an enabler as a community manager to enable the differences, kind of a compromise between the ideals of Mozilla support and the ideals of community and how, you know, to make sure that the community is driving a lot of the goals that come out of some of the meetings I'm in as staff as OKRs, like translating the jargon, translating the what it means to have a community support, not not a I'm gonna call and come and and get someone on the phone kind of support where you're doing paid support. Um, this is to start a discussion. In no way am I solid on some of these ideals. These are just some of the themes that I'll see and recommendations that I'll make to try to translate some of the like don't be a robot. What does that mean? Well, be empathetic, make sure the community, make sure the user is feels like they're heard, soft skills, empathy, diplomacy, what it means to be direct and professional is very different. So some of these tips and tricks I've noticed in some of the top contributors that create a whole lot of value as well. So um, there in the past there was some discussions around, well, I have a lot of time as a contributor and I make a lot of contributions, but some of those contributions didn't answer the question or maybe gave it wasn't fully written out. Um, so this is to start a discussion around what it means to be a top contributor to you as a community. And I don't mean the general you, I mean anyone
Mhm.
who uses Firefox, comes to the support forums and wants help. Like what is a what is a and maybe we need a different word for top contributor. Maybe we need like community role lead or some maybe this turns into a role. I don't know. But please share your thoughts. I would love to know what you think a top contributor is. Maybe there's a history behind it. Maybe there's other ideals that you like to see, or maybe there's some misconceptions. Because I know sometimes um, having that top contributor under your name can um, it it almost gives you some more responsibility, um, and gives you a little bit more of a indicator that oh, I'm being helped by someone that is a top contributor. So Chris, I know you've written uh, blog posts in the past around quality as well, so I did include a little piece on quality. I'd love your input on that. Like what is a quality answer? What is a um,
Mhm.
how do we enable users to um, sort of agree upon. So first, I think the first step is to agree upon what it means to be a top contributor, and then we can start talking about um, sort of the guidance of new users around that top contributor and what it means to be one. Other words I've heard thrown around are like product ambassador. Um, I've heard diplomacy. I've heard professional, but not the type of ambassador that is like speaking like if Mozilla gives like a guidance on what words to say or what words to use, that you use your own voice, right? Like you don't have
Yes.
to be you don't have to be like uh, I'm imagining like there's a I don't know if you've seen this American cartoon where you go back so far in the future and you see that like Star Wars has become a religion, and then you see like a whole bunch of priests um, in the Force robery. I can't remember the name, but it has
Jedi.
yeah, Jedi. There you go. And then the cartoon, it's the one where he's asleep for 10 years and he's got a girlfriend with one eye, and Bender is in it. I forget the name of
Oh,
the
Futurama.
Futurama. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
there's an episode where you see for the first time you see like Star Wars is. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to make the Star Wars reference, but basically, I'm the analogy I was trying to make was that Mozilla is not a cult or like participating in making contributions. I think you should still, you know, have your personal identity. Like, um, in no way do I ever want to see like anyway. Helping someone is still an opinion. Um, but the end goal is that, like you were saying a couple weeks ago, is like that the user's been helped. So I've dragged on that topic. Love your thoughts.
Mhm.
Maybe any immediate thoughts for those that are in the room?
Well, I haven't had a chance to read through the whole thing. I know you posted it last night, so I put it on my to-do list to read later on. So I can't really give any real feedback right now.
Awesome. Okay. Well, because you're on the call, I singled you
Yeah.
out. Sorry about that.
Of course.
For those of you who are watching this, jump in. All opinions, comments, welcome. Disagree with me. I want all of it. I love having discussions like this, and I will probably poke a couple of you to check it out because this is I think this is really important for future contributors that are joining the community. Yeah. Okay. Top issues. We already went over that. We went over the top support issues, so just the things that Roland already went over: the dark mode, mismatch, autoplay for videos being changed. On to social support. I wanted to wish you all a happy end of the month. We have some shared tweets for you in the upcoming newsletter. Thank you, coordinators and moderators, for sharing those tweets. They are very fun to read, and it's really exciting to see some positive energy coming out of the support sumo sprint. And next time, yes, we will call it sumo week. We won't call it sumo days. It makes a lot more sense if it's going to be 2 weeks long to call it a sumo week. There's also the words like hackathon or sprints that have been used before. I don't know if you're actually hacking. You're more, I don't know. So maybe social sumo sprint question helper week. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense either. We can make a long acronym on that. But yeah, so we'll call it Sumo Week for 64. If you are interested in seeing more updates on that, please do reach out. Happy to add you to that social support list. Also, sorry we missed you. I came and had some office hour or had some open video hours on Friday and no one was around. Did answer some questions. Uh, Caught up with a couple of you on Telegram, so thank you for following up. Sorry we missed you. I'm going to send out a doodle to those on the list to find a day that might work better to get synced up and ask you about those all hands agenda items. Also, are you interested in getting started? So if this is the middle of the Sumo week, there is a Trello board that we are adding a list of tweets to from the reply by buffer tool. For those of you who are just getting started and are not NDA'd and like to use your own account to answer questions, we are adding German, Turkish, Russian, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and English tweets. So that Trello board that we shared last week, please feel free to rewatch that recording on how to use that Trello board. If you're interested in your coming in for the first time watching this, you're going to want to see October 24th community meeting on how to use that. If you have any questions, do feel free to reach out. It is an experiment. This is the first time we're using it for a Sumo week, Sumo sprint in social. So we'll take a look to see what y'all think about that at the end of the week, and all of you who have participated to see if that was something you want to keep. So yeah, thank you. There's a lot of talking. I'm gonna check IRC. Looks like video doesn't work on Linux. I'm sorry to hear that. DST. As usual, and for FWIW, no one seems to have thought about DST. What is DST? Maybe that's the point, right? Well, let's look up.
Time change, like daylight savings time.
Ah,
I think they changed in Europe
that
already.
this week. That makes sense.
So I think Tone was probably expecting the meeting an hour later or an hour earlier. If he's listening, confirm or not, if that assumption is true.
Looks like we don't have any 10-4. So in that case, see you online. Happy Halloween and have a good day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, folks.